Labor unions have, since time in antiquity, been existing for a while now through medieval time, among other issues. At some point in time, they had a lot of struggle in actually building the momentum that we have today, which has actually solidified them to where they are. And you know that in the Industrial Revolution, they became a very strong force because of labor essence and the demand for labor. Now, the very famous Haymarket Affair of 1886, which led to May Day, which is Labor Day, tells us how far and to the extent to which labor unions have come this far. But there are different kinds of labor unions where we have essential service providers, among other issues. Then we have health, right? So when it comes to health, it becomes a very sensitive issue, especially so given the services. And I'm sure Doc would agree with me. He has been a unionist, he has been a lawyer, he's a lawyer and a doctor at the same time. So I don't know which one he wants to go with. But you would realize that these are very critical issues that come to the fore. But where I come from, having been a member of government, is that we've come far from a very difficult economic position in the last 1 year or so, where, if you look at our economic dashboard, it was quite messy. You had a central bank posting losses, you have a domestic debt exchange program, you had blue chip investments such as pensions that have been touched, among other issues. So we really had a very overheated economy that is yet to even cool off. So if we are coming from the back of this, and we have been greeted with a very important issue such as this, the only way we can have a strong solution is to come to the table and have a jaw-jaw among ourselves, which I think that if we hadn't really had this jaw-jaw approach, we would not even be where we are with the strike action. Now, when you look at all those that are experts in labor union agitations, among other issues, right, you realize that they strike where it hurts most. So you even see the short-lived action that the nurses took, the OPD, which is a critical operations of a health facility, was affected for 5 days. And cumulatively, we had an 11-day action. But in all of this, I don't want us to look at it from a political lens. We have to look at it from a practical economic perspective, an economic lens. And that economic lens is where I am coming from, which is the economic history for the last 1-2 years to which we have come from. I mean, examples of COVID-19 could be made, but we all know the support we got internationally from COVID-19. We're not going to get, if the British institution could give us grants to pay doctors and nurses, why not? We'll take it with 2 arms. But that's not going to happen because this is hardcore labor issues and no agency is going to come to our aid as had happened in COVID-19. So we could give a lot of examples as COVID-19. We could laud words like the government being insensitive and callous, but I don't think that is what it is, because it is a real engagement of the reality on the ground. I mean, a wage bill of 2 billion. This is what the Deputy Finance Minister said. Look, it's not like we're not going to do this at all, right? Can we have some respite? Can we negotiate and see what we will do? And looking at this, there could be a clear agreement that, where you don't have any payments or disbursements to be made, such as the COS issues, could be addressed. Then can we defer most of these payments to possibly 2026? These are examples I'm giving, by which time the economy might have, bowed, because we're doing a lot of work around it. We're having currency stability at the moment. We're winning or getting some gains as far as the economic stability is concerned. So when we get this, we could do that. Or possibly, if the economy does greater or better, right, before mid-year review, we could accommodate that as well. So these are the very fundamental issues we need to talk about. But to make examples of apple and oranges, as in allocations to government agencies that has been inherited and need to have actual salaries, not allowances, right? So the ISD, the Ministry of Information, among other agencies that the presidency inherited, that ought to have wages. Should we stop their wages at the time of inheritance? So why do we make government allocations or legitimate allocation of funds to these agencies an issue that we have to compare to this and say, okay, someone is being looked after? As we speak,
that point you just made is an attempt to explain what Ejapa Mensah spoke about, that the presidency has increased its budget by over $1 billion.
It is not the presidency
when it was. That's what you explained.
Yes, that's what I'm explaining. But it's not the presidency increasing its budget.
Because what do you say is the
I said we have agencies that has been inherited by the presidency that ought to have what emoluments being paid. They ought to have end of service benefits being paid, among other issues. Where is this funding going to come from? So if that allocation has been made, I mean, you and I know that Article 71 office holders and other people that work around the presidency, after they leave as well, they have to get some benefits.
So that's why the budget for the presidency has ballooned. I
am giving examples of inherited or legacy institutions, right, that have been added to the presidency or that are under the wing of the presidency. When you say presidency, people just see it as an edifice of the Jubilee House. But it has a broader expansion of other key agencies that surround it, which you know, and the public knows. So when we keep giving that example and try to, compare it to a critical matter such as health, it may not give, positive oxygen to the debate.
But like Mr. Akugu said, they had met the minister. Initially, they were told, we just came into office, give us a breathing space. Then a minister was appointed. They approached the minister. The minister says, wait for the budget. That was sort of an assurance that it will reflect in the budget. Then the budget comes, they don't find that, they cry, you say, it's not provided in the budget. Let's wait for 2026.
No, you see, what do you...
That's bad faith.
No, I wouldn't call it bad faith. As I said, you inherit. How old is a government? 5 months, heading off to a 6th month, right? You take over office, and I gave you a background example of what has happened. So when you want to read a budget, you have stakeholder engagements. And these stakeholder engagements, they come out to say, okay, we all need X, Y, Z. Right. It is not that government, they are all insatiable. And it's not that government is in a position to say...
The point is that this was agreed.
No, they said...
And left for government to implement.
Implement, yes.
And so when you inherit the government, you inherited this.
And we haven't thrown that away. We haven't said that we are not even going to pay at all.
So why do you now think that it's not been provided for in the budget, so wait for 2026?
No, but when you inherit something, right, and you don't have the muscle power to do it at the right time, you have to negotiate to defer.
Okay.
People take bank loans, right? At some point, they have to go back to the banks to even negotiate to have repayment conditions, among other issues. Okay. We are not saying this is a critical issue, right? We respect nurses, we respect healthcare workers, and there have not been any official government position insulting nurses or health workers.
That's correct.
Right? They've not been, let's put it on record, they've not been any.
Except some people think that inviting retired nurses is an insult.
Oh, well, you see, what I said is that, when it comes to the negotiation table with labor union, Samson, tempers may flare, strategies may be ignited, among other issues. When I told you that they were very strategic in, going after the OPD, which is a very essential component of a hospital functionality, right? If a health minister says that, okay, in the spur of the moment, this is what we could consider also doing, because the government would also have to have some leverage. It's a negotiation table, right? It's not a jungle. So if they're saying that, okay, well, did they bring retired nurses? Obviously not, right? Nobody brought retired nurses.
No, they were asked to volunteer.
Right.
They obviously didn't show up.